DeFlight here, and we are so happy to show off our new Skalarki standalone driver version 2.0. There is a lot packed into this new version, and we are excited to show off some of the new features that we have implemented in this new driver. So when you first load the software, you're going to get this message, and it is very important that you read it and understand what has changed. One of the new features in version 2.0 is the fact that Skalarki Profiler is no longer used. The actual software now is in full control of your Skalarki hardware as it was originally intended. So you no longer need to use Profiler whatsoever. However, in that being said, you are going to need to install new drivers. So this explains basically that you will need to install the new drivers, and it will do it for you by pressing the Install Drivers Now. Once you've pressed the Install Drivers Now button, you will no longer see this warning message. Furthermore, it is very important that you uninstall any add-on planes that you might have purchased from us, specifically the Phoenix A320 add-on. And the reason you need to do that is because the new software is all encompassed and you no longer need to install multiple products by us in order to use the software. We're going to hit Install Drivers Now, and it's going to ask you to confirm, and there you go. You now have it installed. Another way that you can check to make sure the drivers are installed is you can come up to your device manager, and you should now see a DeFlight custom USB driver, and it will show you specifically what is installed. And right now I am showing that my eCam is installed. We also include the drivers in the applications folder, so you can manually do this as well if you wish. But again, it is automatic, so there is really no need to do that. So this will let you know that you have it installed. It'll tell you which version it is, and this will indicate that it is ready to go. When you click on the icon now, it will now no longer show Skalarki. It'll only show the flight simulator and whether or not it is connected or not. If we go to Setup, one of the changes that we made that a lot of people asked is the top here allows you to move along with the icon, so you can actually move the menu just like so instead of having to go all the way over here every time. You'll see right away some of the changes here on the calibration page. One of the more apparent changes is that we added the trim wheel. A lot of people have requested that they provide calibration to their trim wheel, so we now have that. Another thing that we include now is the dead zone calibration. You will see that when you first install it, it's going to automatically set the throttle to 2, the speed brake to 1, and the trim wheel to 4. Of course, you can change this to whatever you wish, but we found that this is the most accurate dead zone for the corresponding levers. If you're not familiar with what dead zone does, is it essentially takes these numbers that you see here and allows the numbers to not continuously change if they are only 1 or 2 or whatever. That's what dead zone does. So if you set this to 2 and your throttle comes in at 213, then 212, then 213, this will basically do nothing. And you can set that dead zone as low as you wish. So you'll also notice, of course, that now we show the numbers to indicate where your throttle, speed brake, and so forth are. There has been no change to the flap setting. We added the ability to now disable and enable the motor. So if you do have a motor, you now have the ability in which to completely disable it during flight. So this is good for, let's say your motor was to accidentally start going haywire and you don't want it to break. You can just come in here and just turn it off and it will stop moving. Another thing to note is that the motor functionality has no effect whatsoever if you don't have a motor. So we're going to move on to the backlights. So you'll notice the backlights has no changes, but we did add a new feature called LED display brightness. And what this allows you to now do is allows you to adjust the LED or the displays and their brightness. You can adjust it from 15 all the way down to 0. So normally if you set this to auto, which is what it is defaulted to, it's going to rely on the plane's LED and brightness switch. On an A320 it is above where it says ANN lights and it does bright and dim. So if you have this on auto, it'll automatically do the brightness for you. This also corresponds to if you have an overhead, it will work with the Skalarki overhead. But you do have the ability to override that and change it to whatever you wish. Now note that this will only work for devices that don't have hardware dimming. For example, the glare that Skalarki provides has a dimmer in the back, so therefore this will not work with that. We also notice this does not work with the MCDU because the MCDU also has a brightness button on it. However, this will work with all other panels. Alright, so we're going to move on to planes. This has changed quite a bit, and we're going to go over this in a little detail. Fly-by-wire is automatically installed by default and automatically activated by default. The planes are no longer installed or not installed. They come pre-packaged with the software and are downloaded when you start the flight. And what that means is, let's say we have a change to one of our planes, the manufacturer decided to change something. This will automatically download the newest version for you as long as it's updated by us. So therefore, there's no longer an installer for planes. You don't have to install them. Of course, you can activate them, and if the same thing goes, the activation only lasts for a year. We added the ability now for people that are interested in custom planes. And we have a custom plane add-on, which we're going to reduce the price as well when this comes out, which allows you to make your own planes. And we're going to have a completely different video on how this works because it has changed since the original adaptation of our custom planes. We now have the ability to provide up to 10 custom plane profiles, which again you can do whatever you wish to the plane. If you activate the custom plane option, which again you have to purchase separately, you're going to notice that you have a disable and enable button. And what this allows you to do is allows you to enable your custom plane or disable your custom plane. So for example, if you're going to customize the fly-by-wire, let's say one of your buttons that you made, you don't want it to do that, or we've had people ask where they have an RMP3 and they want to change it into an RMP2. You can do all of that with the custom planes. And in doing so, if you don't enable it, it's going to just use the standard fly-by-wire profile that we provide. So if you press disable here, it's going to then use the fly-by-wire or Phoenix that is provided. However, if you hit enable, this will automatically override whatever you're doing, and we'll show you a demonstration of that a little bit later. So this allows you to enable and disable the custom planes, and again, they have up to 10 profiles. Moving on to panels. So this is going to be what Skalarki hardware you have. Now you'll see that it shows everything that I have connected here. It shows my ACP1, it shows my eCam, glare, etc. And it shows if it's ready or not. What ready indicates is that the device is connected and is communicating with the software. If it shows not ready, that can mean a number of things. It could mean the driver is not installed. It could mean the USB is unplugged. It could mean that the driver is not functioning properly. So if it doesn't say ready, you have the ability here to hit reinitialize. And when you hit reinitialize, it's going to reinitialize the connectivity of that particular device. And you have the ability to reinitialize any of the devices. So for example, let's say you were to accidentally unplug something during a flight, or even just during using of the software. When you plug it back in, there is a signal that is sent to automatically reinitialize the device. However, there are times where that might not function properly, or there might be a glitch, or there might be something. In that case, you have the ability here to just reinitialize and reconnect it. At the bottom, you will see you have three options. Your captain side and first officer side brightness panel, which get plugged into the MIP. And some people have them and some people don't. And we've noticed that if you do not have one, there is a number of signals that lock up the software. So you're going to want to make sure that if you do not have one, that you do not use this. However, of course, if you have it and want to use it, you have the ability to check it. Same thing with the WX radar panel on the eCam. So we've conveniently added a install and remove for the driver installation. We're going to show that in real time how this actually works. Alright, so we're going to go to the device manager. I currently only have the eCam installed. For demonstration purposes, I'm showing multiple other devices ready, but they're actually not ready. But you'll see that we have the DeFlight custom Skalarki eCam. If you previously were using Profiler, which most of you probably were, you're going to automatically already have the Profiler driver installed on your computer. This is useful if you want to use Profiler for P3D or another simulator. you still can use Profiler with our software. There's no reason why you couldn't. However, when you use Profiler, you are going to need to remove the installer drivers that are provided by us, and vice versa when you want to use our software. If you click on remove and you say, are you sure, and you hit yes, you're going to get a pop-up, and you will notice that now the driver goes back to the normal driver that comes with Skalarki. Now if you come over here and hit install, it's going to automatically then install our driver. So you have the ability on the fly here to change a driver as you see fit. So that is how you use the installer and the driver installer. Again, we provide these drivers in the application folder, so you could do this manually if you wish as well. We made a couple changes to the debugger. Primarily, you'll notice the top, we have Skalarki RX, TX, and SimConnect RX and TX. So what this allows you to do is disable certain things. So if we clear it out and I start hitting stuff on my eCam, you can see I have RX. This means I am hitting things from the eCam. Now, if I was to disable the RX and I start hitting things, you'll notice nothing happens now. So you have the ability to disable things as you see fit. So that is the main setup of the driver. Okay, so now we're going to launch the simulator and show you some of the new features that we included during flight. We are in the simulator. You'll notice it's going to now show us that we are connected on the debugger, and it shows connected on the driver itself. So we'll get the fly-by-wire going, and I also want to remind everyone that this only works with the development version of fly-by-wire. You of course can purchase a custom plane and therefore make it work with any version of the fly-by-wire. Before we hit ready to fly, you'll notice nothing is happening. With the new driver, what we've done is once you've hit ready to fly, it's going to update all of the plane files automatically for you. Now because of this, whenever you hit ready to fly and whenever you're in the cockpit, you can't manipulate anything in the panels and planes section of the program. And that is because when you first load into the plane, that is when it does all the downloading. So we'll demonstrate that. You will also notice that we have a new notification. When we get ready to fly, it will show you what plane you have loaded. Now if you have a custom plane loaded, which you can see we have custom plane enabled, we're going to be loading the custom plane. But for this demonstration, we're going to hit disabled. Let's go ahead and hit ready to fly. Now once you hit ready to fly, you will see we now have a new notification that tells you the flight has started and what plane you are flying. You can always disable notifications in the Windows settings if you do not want to use it. But you'll notice now that it shows connected and which plane profile has been loaded. And if we come back to our activation page, you'll notice that I can't do anything here as it is disabled when you are flying, as I mentioned. You can of course always click on the command list and get your command list at any time. So if we come back to debug, you'll notice a new feature. It's going to show you when the flight started. It's going to tell you what plane has been loaded. It's also going to show you any information that's coming from the plane and to the plane. So for example, if I were to hit the eCam, which I have plugged in right now, we should indicate what we're doing. So you'll notice as I click on this, we show from Skalarki what we did and what is being sent to the sim. It's going to provide you with that LVAR or that variable in which we are using, so that way it's a little more convenient to tell you what is happening, and it tells you exactly what signal we're sending. So that is the new features that we've added to the debug feature of the plane. Now again, if we were to disable the SimConnect TX, we're only going to see the TX from the Skalarki. We can also disable the RX, and you can see I'm moving the knob. We have not changed anything with the recalling features, which means when you load in a plane, it's going to automatically sync to your hardware, so there's nothing you need to do about that. So now we're going to get out of here and we're going to load a custom plane. I'm going to show you how that works. So we'll go back to the main menu. The flight has ended. You'll see that it now shows connected. Now we're going to enable the custom plane and show you how that works. Before, with it being disabled, it automatically loaded into fly-by-wire. So you can adjust any of these settings in the plane activation prior to hitting ready to fly, because as we mentioned, it gets loaded when you hit ready to fly. So we can enable and disable this to our heart's content and change the custom plane profile as many times as we wish. We're going to now enable it. We're going to set it to custom plane 1, and we're going to say ready to fly. And now what's going to happen is it's going to load the custom plane profile. And the custom plane profile is profile 1. So now that custom plane is loaded, even though we're in the fly-by-wire, the fly-by-wire command list no longer functions. Anything that you haven't programmed in custom plane won't do anything until you program this. Another thing to note is that if you don't have multiple profiles, if you only have one custom plane profile and you hit custom plane profile 2, it's going to error out and not work. So therefore you're going to have to restart your flight. Remember, anytime you make a change to this page, you need to make sure that you restart your flight. And again, it will not let you make any changes until you do so regardless. So that is a demonstration of version 2.0, which we are very excited to roll out. We're hopeful that we can have it out within the next few days. There are a number of things that we're testing, and we're doing test flights just to make sure everything works. We're also making sure everything in the Phoenix works. We are really excited to show off this new software and really excited to roll it out. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. If you haven't joined our Discord server, I highly recommend that you join our Discord server. The link is in our description below. Using our Discord, you can get all our updates, and you can get some technical support from other users as well. Thank you for watching today, and again, we're going to have a custom plane video coming out as well. We're also going to be updating our other software down the road within the next coming weeks. So thank you for watching again, and have a wonderful day.